He said, I think it's completely absurd that a young man should know what he wants to do with his life before the age of 30 to 35. Take as much time as you need. Take all the time in the world to really figure out what lights your soul up and then bring that gift to the world. Because we need, in my mind, more people aligned on purpose with their soul mission than following the status quo. Emotional suppression, self-reliance, avoidance of help-seeking behaviours, an interest in dominance and power, those four always lead to negative mental health outcomes. There are two that support a man's mental health. A focus on work, so purpose in work, and risk-taking.
That's true for me.
Men learning to relate with their emotions is one of the greatest gifts they can give themselves. The confusion is they reckon it's feminizing men. Men are becoming too in touch with their emotions. That's bullshit.
I think relationships are a rite of passage because you're going to trigger each other. And like you said, where am I still not free? Where am I still being triggered?
And not validation that I agree with you, but how can I see it the way you're seeing it? Yeah. How can I understand this to be real for you? It's not my reality, but your reality is equally as true as mine. And that's where the relating happens.
Yeah, so my guest on today's episode is a coach, like myself, a therapist, again, like myself, an author, not like myself, yeah. I'm writing my book at the moment. Your book is called Biotra?
Biotra, yeah.
Biotra. And then also you're the founder and a lead facilitator with the Embodied Man Institute.
Yeah.
And so welcome. Good to have you here, Ryan Barraclough.
Thank you.
Clough?
Barraclough, yeah.
Barraclough.
On the side of the hill.
We've only met recently, but I'm fascinated by you. I may have a bit of a man crush on you.
Oh, nice, bro. Thanks. Oh, I love a bromance. I'll tell you guys, he's actually quite avoidant in the pursuit, you know. He's quite hard to catch, so this is news to me.
What fascinates me about you is, please take this in the right way, for someone with so few years under your belt, like you're probably half my age, but you're one of the brightest minds and purest hearts I recall meeting in a long time, if ever. There's something really quite special about you. But I'm not here to pump your tyres up, but I'm happy to do that.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and so we met because somebody suggested that we should meet, and they were right. And then through that, you invited me to come to the gathering of men. And that was a wonderful invitation. I'm really glad you did. Because we share, not only are we both coaches and therapists, but we have a passion for, I think, helping men become better versions of themselves.
Yep.
Is that what you're all about? Or like,
yeah.
Let's start with this question. So can you give me your background, a little bit your backstory? How did you become who you are and passionate about what you're passionate about?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Whenever anyone asks me, I feel there's a million threads that really make that honest answer.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the kind of general experience I had was quite sick at a young age and heavily put into sports. So my family was very active. So I had really bad asthma as a young kid. So the way we overcame that was with natural medicines, swimming, what I remember every day of the week, and a lot of activity. Lived in a really clean household. My mum was a hippie before hippies were hippies. Like, she was on it, you know. And it was a performance-based household. And so I grew up, parents split up. My role was very much the people pleaser, was very much the balm for the heat that was in the house. And as that evolved, man, I just lent into sports. That's where I got my love. That's where I got my congratulations. That's where I got to express myself fully. And so I became an athlete, and I was trying to be the best athlete I could be for many years. Went to a high school, quite a constrictive all-boys high school. It was interesting being in a really, I would say, white, rich and racist schooling environment. And a private school down in Sydney, you leave that and you become a corporate cog. You just follow the path that's laid in front of you. I would have been awesome at that. Man, like, I'm such a good little militant. I would have been so good at that. But my brother wasn't. He was a little rebel, so he dropped out. So I had the surf culture influence hitting me. And then I had my local mates in the local NRL. So for me, it was a bit of a melting pot of, wow, there's all this rigidity, and then there's all this fun, and there's all this localism and in some ways roughness. And when I left school, man, this was all stewing in me. You know, I don't feel like I ever got really good guidance as to be like, hey, Ryan, what do you want? What do you like? What are you into? It was do this, it'll look good on your resume. Hey, you're good at that, keep doing that.
Yeah.
But it was never, hey, little dude, what's up with you? And so long story short, that trajectory of just kind of doing what I thought I should or what other people thought I should landed me in a massive breakdown when I was about 26. So I wanted to quit rowing, was my sport, when I was 17. I didn't quit till I was 26. And I just found ways to suffer through it, really. I found ways to optimize through it. The optimization was to deal with the discontent down below. And when the wheels came off, when a friend of mine killed himself, and I started asking bigger questions, I started relating his life to mine, I started wondering if I was okay, that's when it all the house of cards came crumbling down. And so that was that trajectory. Along that road, I'd also always been dipping out into little hippie activity, going like cacao parties, hanging out with, you know, Mason from Super Feast in his early days, and just being an alternative thinker. I'd always try different training methodologies. I'd be interested in, I wrote a whole program based off muscle testing and kinesiology to see if that worked better than just trusting people I didn't trust. And so I started experimenting, and one of the things that happened was when I was 22, I went to an event called The Grail, which is a local men's work event. It's been running for a number of years by a company called She Matrix. And man, it took 11 years for me to actually integrate that. It was only, you know, I just thought it was a really intense process, a really intense ego death. I didn't feel like I got the support that I needed from that environment afterwards to integrate what I went through. It was brutal, man. And so that was my first experience of men's work at 22. And then I was sitting in those circles, and I remember looking around at the men, and I'm like, wow, these guys are just repeating the same old shit every circle. And these guys I'm not inspired by these men. So I was interested in men's work. I was living a life I didn't like. I was trying to escape through hippie measures. Someone killed himself, the house came crumbling down, and I ended up with a yoga teacher.
As a yoga teacher?
With a yoga teacher.
With a yoga teacher.
Yeah, this fella called Mark Bredner, who was an anomaly. You know, he was a yogi since the age of 5. His mother was a yogi, like an OG yogi, not the stretching kind, the deep meditation, the Kriya, the real hardcore work. Yeah. He was also a big wave surfer. He was Ian Thorpe's body mind coach, and he used to tour with the Rip Curl surf team. Like, he was just an oddball in a way. And him and I really resonated. When I had my breakdown, I was at rock bottom, and I just hit him up. I was like, bro, I don't want to do this anymore. And he said, come over. And I started practicing yoga with him. And then he said, do you want to work with me? And then I started traveling and working with him for about 3 years, 3-4 years. And that was kind of where men's work started for me. I started sharing my journey. I started sharing what I was going through. I started being honest about how I wasn't okay, how the life that I was living sucked, and I wanted to change, and all of this internal world I was learning about, and the different structures of the mind, and to express emotions feels good. And I started to share that online, and men started to resonate, and men started to want to work with me. And that's where I started as a men's coach.
Love that backstory so much in that, such a rich story. Part of that, some of that I relate to in that growing up as a young man, you don't know who you are or who you're becoming, and you're looking for, my father told me what I should be. He wanted me to be an accountant, right? And a bit like you, I was a people pleaser too. So I went to uni, did an accounting degree to please my father. It's the worst job for someone like me, accountant. But it's what my dad wanted, being a people pleaser. I followed that. That was the wrong path for me. I know that now. There's that wonderful saying that if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you. And so I think the message to young men is like, discover who you are. Don't wait for the world to tell you, or don't think you need to fit in some box or follow some expectation. But then, it takes a lifetime to discover who you are. And then the privilege of this lifetime, this is Jung's quote, the privilege of this lifetime is to become who you truly are. And so I guess that you only really find out that through experimentation, not through reading a book. A book can't tell you who you are. I think yoga helped me a lot. I did a lot of Kriya.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, Kriyas. I went to India and sat in an ashram there with Satyananda for 6 months, and I got deep into it. Daily practice, 2.5 hours, and that really helped me to develop the witness, the observing witness. And so I knew I wasn't the content of my mind, my thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, my fantasies. I was able to just observe those and then become more that witnessing thing. And so then I started to decide who I was from the inside out. And that's only grown with age to the point where now, like, I totally internally validate myself. That's not 100% true. I still seek a little bit of external validation. But for me, it's a process of inner work and discovery. And for, you know, if only you could put an old head on young shoulders, you know, because who I know myself to be now, if I knew that at 20 or even 30 or even 40, my life would have gone in a slightly different direction. But I'm quite happy the direction my life has gone in. So, men's work, like I'm just passionate about, well, I wasn't happy with the man I was until my mid-50s. Like it took me a long time to mature. And I was just a kind of hedonistic, kind of pleasure-seeking, you know, instant gratification party boy who liked, my highest value was freedom and travel. Nothing wrong with that, a great life, but I wasn't really stretching myself or really finding out who I could become. And so you want to jump in?
Keep going. I was like, I resonate, man. It's
you're resonating.
Yeah, that's the night phase.
It's the which?
That's the night. And when a man understands the stages of development, that's the phase of the night. You know, 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
Feast, fight, and fuck. Like it's all about freedom.
Yeah.
And it's really necessary for men.
Yeah.
If it's done in an appropriate way where we learn lessons that mature us. But we don't have that in culture.
We don't have the rites of passage. It's the rites of passage that are missing, don't you think?
100% agree. Initiation and rites of passage. That's nature's natural way to mature men emotionally and psychologically.
Yeah. And so in our culture we've replaced that drinking alcohol, see how much alcohol you can drink. That's
what I did.
That's the only one that was available to me.
Yeah, feeding, fasting and fucking, man.
Yeah, and maybe sexual conquest, like how many women can you lay and how much beer can you drink became like the ordeals.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're probably very familiar with the hero's journey, you know, Joseph Campbell's work. And
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that whole journey that we have to go through to become who we're becoming. And, I mean, so yoga was, I think, a rite of passage for me, but what it became more in my 40s and 50s was I just went into psychedelic plant medicines because, you know, that's going into the unknown. That's going into the abyss, into the cave. And you don't know what three-headed dragons are waiting for you in there.
Yeah.
And there's also, you know, blissful things inside psychedelic journeys. But now I've even stepped away from that. But men's work, I think what you'd be familiar with Mankind Project. Yep. So that was kind of not my first, but that was it definitely impacted me. I did the New Warrior training and the pit training, and I went to a weekly meeting for quite a long time. But I really also resonated with the gathering of men too, because for me, a rite of passage it's about creating an ordeal, isn't it? That takes you right to the edge of your boundaries as a being, and then even beyond that, because we have to push past a boundary to move into a new version of ourselves. You could probably explain this better than me. So what is a rite of passage, and how do you create those in the gathering of men?
I mean, we're speaking around it beautifully because you said what the word you used was the unknown when you lent into medicine. And so the key aspect of the hero's journey and the initiatory cycle is meeting the unknown. And in that, the psychological self or the identity is recapitulated, turned inside out, dissolved, and then reformed through the process. So the rite of passage is that journey from who I am to maybe I'm not that, to I don't know anything, to who does life want me to be, how is life informing me, and what is life instruction. And so rite of passage was always nature-based. So we went from getting our safety and our validation from relating with the other person, our primary caregivers mainly, to relating with the eternal caregiver, life and nature. So for me, all rites of passage, when done well, reconnect someone with their true nature, which is nature. And so it's the rite of passage is the restitching of someone back to greater meaning, purpose, and significance. And in that, they feel small, but not in a negative way. And I've been reading a lot of research about the experience of awe, which is in most plant medicine ceremonies, in most healthy experiences to reformat my sense of self. There's a wonder, a vast landscape, or an experience that shocks me into who the fuck am I? And oh my God, who can I be? So it's possibility comes with rite of passage and initiation. But amazingly, man, with awe, what the research says is it is a violation of expectation. So I need to be shocked beyond what I was ready to receive to be taken out of my identity and my limiting self and cast into the realm of possibility and potential. And we seek this in men. It's risk-seeking behavior. So we seek risk. That's why we love them. We want to drink the medicine. Let's do the next cup.
Yeah.
Let's do a bigger dose.
Yeah.
So we seek this over and over and again. And that, what rite of passage was, it was the skillful application of risk by elders for younger men to keep growing.
Right. So that has to involve risk and facing the unknown and stretching you beyond where you've been before. I remember one exercise they did, I think it was called the guts process or something in Mankind Project. You had to kind of get in touch with your biggest source of frustration. And mine had something to do with getting through to my mother. You know, my mother didn't protect me from my father. In fact, she kind of threw me under the bus with him a lot, you know. And so my dad would come home and she would say that, you know, the kids would be naughty, and so then my dad would, you know, give us a flogging, you know. Yeah. And so in this thing, I had to get, what was my biggest source of frustration was I couldn't communicate to my mother how hurt or how scared I was or how hurt I was by her throwing me under the bus. But like, it's not really betrayal, but it's a bit of a strong word for that. But certainly throwing me under the bus. Yeah. And it wasn't something I could speak about. It wasn't a cognitive process. It wasn't even really an emotional process. And what they did was they got these men, like 6 men, and they all these 3 either side, and they were locked arms, and they became this impenetrable wall. And there was a guy just beyond them representing what I wanted to get to, which was my mum. And then I was here, and I had to feel into my frustration. And how do I get to there? And they said, well, the only way to get through it is through this impenetrable wall, and you got to. That's what you have. That's the ordeal, the task in front of you. And so I just started pushing, trying to get through these men. Of course, 6 men with their arms locked, can't be done. And so I just kept trying and kept pushing, and then more, harder, and they just kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. This frustration was just boiling up in me like crazy, and I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And I got to a point where I almost blacked out. And that was, I think, the unknown, because I'd reached as far as my physical body could take me, and my own will and my own volition and my own determination could only take me so far, and that I reached the limits of my body. But there was the desire was some overarching thing that I had to get there no matter what. And I got to where I had nothing left in my tank. And at that point, I don't recall what happened after that, but something shifted. Yeah. And it was ineffable, undescribable. I couldn't language it. But I walked away from that thinking whatever just happened then really changed something up in me. It was something like attending to the impossible and giving it everything you got, and then something changed, but you had no idea what or how. Yeah. So I don't know what they're actually doing in that guts process, but it was definitely like I can remember it like it was yesterday. That's how much it impacted me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then I recall, okay, so that's what it is to be a man. I have to be able to go beyond what I know is possible. I'll just pivot to, as you talked about, kind of have to deconstruct the man that you are to become the man you're becoming. And part of that's the ego, which is what we're developing as a young man. We're spending our 20s and 30s building our ego up. And in our 40s, we have our midlife crisis, and then we realise that the ego is not going to get the job done on its own. Yeah. And then it becomes, for me, it's become later in my 50s and now 60s, really about dealing with the shadow. But have you done the 5-MeO DMT, the toad medicine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you done a threshold dose?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what I'm about to talk about. So in terms of ego death,
Yeah.
like that's been the biggest rite of passage for me, easily by far. And because that's full ego death. I mean, it literally turns off the default mode network in your brain, which is where your ego is stored, and you don't know you're not dying. It's just the ego death, and then you experience unity consciousness. There's no more duality. It's a non-dual experience. And then I came back from that. That changed my life in a way that again is ineffable or inexplainable. And I would say that's been my biggest rite of passage, was because to take that full dose of toad, you have to be ready to die. Because I couldn't tell the difference between ego death and real death. Now, I'm not saying people should go out and do 5-MeO DMT, and I don't even think we really need psychedelics to do rites of passage, but they're one way.
I think we need altered states.
Altered states.
I think humans are hardwired for altered states, and I think it's a really healthy aspect of a thriving culture is that we experience altered states to keep communing with a being that is far greater than us in a direct relationship, not one managed by an institution, say a religion or a church. And I think it's one of the key attributes that really help people thrive spiritually and then bring a spiritual life into the dual nature, is by having a direct relationship with spirit. So it doesn't have to be psychedelics, but I think breathwork is really good. I think dancing for 12 hours, a lot of the earth-based cultures had trance-based practices built in.
Vision Quest.
Yeah.
Cambo.
Yeah.
Cambo's an interesting one because it's not a psychedelic, but it's an ordeal.
Takes you to your edge, huh? Yeah,
what?
It takes you all the way,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what Cambo is, it's a green tree frog from the Amazon, and it produces a secretion that it excretes on its back, and then they burn your skin and rub a bit of that in there, and it's not a psychedelic; it's just a poison.
Yeah,
it's a poison response.
Poison. Yeah, it's one that doesn't call me at all, but from what I understand and my friends who are into it, it's a very strong purgatory response, and it's quite an ordeal getting to the point where you do purge.
Yeah, there's documentaries where, if you're interested in knowing what a rite of passage with Cambo looks like in terms of Amazonian tribes, the men would do it before they would go on the monkey hunt.
Yeah.
Because the only source of protein is really monkeys, and they live 120 feet up in the trees, and they've got these like 4-meter blow darts, and and then sometimes it falls into a branch. They've got to climb a 120-foot tree to get the monkey, and sometimes they go out for 2 weeks and come back with no monkeys. But the reason they do the reason they do the Cambo is so this goes into your lymphatics, and it's a poison, and so your body goes, I just need to shed and expel and purge everything out of me to deal with this poison, and it's a bit graphic, but I remember I had projectile vomiting and projectile diarrhea at the same time.
The royal flush, I believe it's called.
There was not much royal about it, but it was a flush. And but the thing that you get out of that is it heightens all your senses, so sound, smell, sight, but also it just, you just get strength and stamina and endurance.
Wow.
And it lasts probably a month.
Oh.
Yeah, and I've only done the Cambo twice, and the first one was a total ordeal. And again, for me, like I address these things as a rite of passage. I'm like, this is a real challenge. This is like, I seriously don't want to do this. This is scary stuff. But then I'll see someone else. I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And that guy, well, he's a real man. Look at him, he's got courage and balls to step up to that.
Yeah.
And so it almost like challenges me to step up as well.
Yeah.
And so the tribal cultures have these rites of passage built in, don't they? And so can you speak more to, you're studying psychotherapy at the moment.
Yeah, psychotherapy and counselling.
Yeah, can you speak a little bit to, what do you think these rites of passage or these ordeals are doing to us psychologically? I mean, I think you were on to speaking about that.
For me, the way I see it is that initiation rite of passage was our time-tested, nature-backed, pretty solid way of developing men emotionally and psychologically. I think women, to an extent, have it built into their biology with their menstruation cycle. And in the old, initiation, when it's talked about from people who are quite esteemed in it, initiation was to bring men up to the level of women.
Oh, right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I never heard it put like that before.
Yeah, and so one of the ways we could see that is women bleed onto the earth with their menstrual cycle. And for men, and I don't remember where I heard this, but it really landed. So the scarification, that would be a bloodletting, an offering of blood from the man onto the earth like a woman does. And so it was to bring him up to the level of woman. And the idea being, if a man, there's a scar or a cut, that wound, when the initiation and rite of passage is done well, that wound becomes a womb, a metaphorical womb where the next evolution of that man is born. The more mature version of that man is born.
Wow.
If it's done unskillfully, we have a whole heap of boys running around with cuts, bleeding on people who didn't hurt them. So we have this juxtaposition, this dichotomy taking place, and that's why skillful initiation and rites of passage and reinstating that in a way that is appropriate for the Western world and the Western mind is really necessary to help develop men.
Wow. I told you he was bright, people. I witnessed, I was quite privileged to witness, I didn't witness it, but the before and after. I was working as a nurse out in the Pitjantjatjara lands, about 4 hours south of Cooper Pedy, in the middle of the desert there. And they gathered about 200 young boys between about 15 and 18 years of age from about 8 different communities. And they marched them out in the desert for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. Because I was the male nurse there, the manager of the nursing unit asked me to put together a surgical pack for them because they were going out to do their cutting ceremony. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I will.
You can edit it later if it's not appropriate.
Yes, it's just an Indigenous thing. It's men's business. But I mean, you can read about it. Be online in the public records, so I suppose I can talk about it. I just don't want to be disrespectful to the Indigenous culture. But these lads were going out and they do a cutting ceremony where they do bleed onto the land and they cut the underside of their penis. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, so in medical terms it's called a surgical hypospadias. But what they do is they just use, like I got them, betadine and chlorhexidine and surgical scalpels and gauze and all this and put it in a pack. Was the manager's idea. So I give this to them, and I gave it to them. They just laughed, and they says, "Oh no, we just use a broken beer bottle or something, or a sharp stone or whatever, right?" Jeez. So off these guys go into the desert for a few weeks, and they just left the kit that I prepared. They left that behind, and off they went. And I'd forgotten about it. Then one morning, I go to the clinic and I open up. This young boy walks in and he's just got a pair of footy shorts on. Otherwise, he's kind of not wearing anything else. And he's just covered in blood, dried blood from head to toe. And I didn't know what happened to him. I didn't know if he'd been beaten up or in an accident or whatever. And he walked in. I'm like, "You okay, bro?" Like, "What happened?" He's this big smile. He goes, "Men's business."
Oh,
yeah. He
Wow.
just looked so proud.
Yeah.
He goes, "I just come to show you. I'm not seeking anything from you." Like. I'm like, "Thank you, thank you for showing me."
Yeah, what a
and they were. What I noticed was that they were generous because they included me in it in the beginning. They let me know they were going out. They let me know they didn't need the kit. They told me they do things their way. And when they came back, that boy came in to show me. So I saw the beginning and the end. I wasn't privy to the middle bit of it, but that's. So look, I take your point around women. I've known this for a long time. Like women, so yeah, they start bleeding. Off some as early as 10 years old, but somewhere in between 10 and 15 when they hit puberty. So women do have the ordeal of menstruation. Then they've got boys hounding them. That's an ordeal. Then there's pregnancy. That's an ordeal. Then there's childbirth. That's an ordeal. Then there's raising the children. And then there's menopause. And like you say, I think it's built into their biology, their rite of passage. And so we have to create rites of passage as men just to come up to their level. Is that what you're saying?
And then we've got all these men rocking around reckoning they lead. Bro, sit down. Sit the fuck down. How are you going to lead a woman to give birth? How are you going to lead a woman to breastfeed? I'm not a feminist. I'm not putting men down, but all these hyper-masculine men running around saying that we lead and women follow. Bro, sit down. You were birthed by a woman.
Yeah.
You were raised by a woman. You were breastfed by a woman.
Yeah.
Respect and revere the feminine and embody your full fucking masculine edge.
Yeah.
But come on, bros, let's not kid around here.
Have you got kids?
Not yet.
Okay. I watched my child, Audrey, who was born about a year ago, be birthed by my partner, Rebecca. And I'm like, I got nothing on that. I'm like, that's some real gangster stuff right there.
Yeah,
like,
bro, I can't even fathom.
She laboured for 30 hours labour and then pushed for 6. Bub wouldn't come out because it was posterior, so we ended up having to go to the hospital and, had to be delivered by an obstetrician. But she was, if it could have been birthed at home, she was determined to birth it at home, and we had to end up in the hospital. But yeah, I developed a deep respect for my partner, but women overall. And look, on that leading thing, I just want to give you my opinion on that, because I think women lead in a lot of ways, but I think men can lead in some ways too. And how we got the division of labour set up in my home is that I lead when it comes to providing safety, security and protection and resources. So that's where I lead. My partner's stay-at-home mum. She runs the house. She does most of the child rearing. She does all the cooking. She's all about nourishing, nurturing. And she leads in health, nutrition, well-being, research, child rearing in the home, management. And I cover the other things, and that seems to work.
Sounds like co-leading.
Co-leading. And one thing I've learned about co-leading, and so if you have these things set up, here's a tip from a coach. If you're given the responsibility to lead in a certain area, you also need to be given the authority. It doesn't work to be given the responsibility without the authority. So if you're going to assume the role of providing the money, then don't let your partner tell you how to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Like, stay out of my business. I'm not going to tell you how to raise the kid or how to run them home. And these conflicts come up. Like, one of the coaching things I do is I help people in relational conflict.
Yep.
And I learned that through dealing with the conflict in my own relationship. But that's so if you have the responsibility for something, you should be given the authority as well. And so if you take that on, if you take those where you're going to lead, then you should lead there. You can consult with your partner, but you shouldn't allow your partner to tell you what to do in an area where you're responsible for.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I feel the nuance there is I'm open to feedback.
Yes.
Being open to the oracular gift that women carry. The intuitive sense that, hey, maybe that's a better direction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My partner's very clever, and I often listen to her. Well, I mostly listen to her. She just says I need to listen more, but we can always listen more. And I've learnt that quite often she's right about a lot of things. Yeah. However, sometimes you've got to draw the line and say, well, hang on, no, this is my area. I'll make this decision.
Yeah, I've got this.
Yeah, I'm happy to consult with you, but I'm making the final decision on this thing. It's funny how we got into, because one of the things I was going to ask after we discussed men for a long time was, what role do women play in supporting men becoming the best version of themselves? But I want to pivot back to, there's a bit of a conversation out there, a narrative that men are really struggling at the moment, and I hear that particularly in the younger age brackets like the Gen Z or millennials, and some of those things are around the cost of living, the housing affordability crisis. I think young men today, whether they're coming out of university or coming to a trade, like the idea of owning a home is becoming less possible. Those younger age groups, there's a higher percentage of them not wanting to get into a relationship than getting into a relationship. Wow. So it's almost like the future for younger men today is like, well, I'll never own a home, and what's the point of being in a relationship? And they're almost being discouraged from being in relationships. So there's something going on for younger men that I'm just getting wind of, but I don't fully understand in terms of, like, when I know when I grew up, I just saw the future as full of opportunity and potential. You know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. Everything just thinks so. There was so much possibility.
I've heard about those times.
You've heard about those times.
Wow.
Yeah, there was so much possibility and opportunity that the world was your oyster, and Australia was the lucky and blessed country. That's the country I grew up in. It's not kind of like that now. And so I think more so now, men need to be uplifted, and that's got to come mostly from men for men. And I think you're part of that. I'm part of that, and there's many other men out there that are part of that. And it's like, what's the map? What's the roadmap? First of all, what do you see as the challenges facing young men today? What are the big struggles?
You know, it's interesting what I don't know much about what you've explained here, but listening to you describe it, where men are not wanting to do what has been done. The young men are saying, well, I don't want to get the house. I don't want to get the relationship. Maybe that's actually them taking the breathing room to figure out what they want. Maybe that's a positive in the long run. Maybe we're not going to have people rushing into the situations you and I found ourselves in where we're like, this isn't what I wanted. And so maybe the pushing back of going, well, look at these older generations. I'm not necessarily inspired. So I'm going to pump the brakes. I'm going to look after myself for a moment and I'm going to wait until I'm inspired. I really think purpose is something that animates from us, not something we pursue.
Say that last bit.
Purpose is something that animates from us. It's not something we pursue. And the harder we pursue it, the more elusive it seems, versus if I slow down. You know, Don Rosenthal, he was my teacher, and he was a really distinguished elder, probably the first male elder where I was just blown away. And he said, I think it's completely absurd that a young man should know what he wants to do with his life before the age of 30 to 35. Take as much time as you need. Take all the time in the world to really figure out what lights your soul up and then bring that gift to the world. So for the young men struggling, and, you know, maybe it's not a bad thing that they're like, oh, I can't purchase a house. It's like, well, okay, maybe use that as fuel for you to slow down and go, well, what the fuck do you want to do? Because we need, in my mind, more people aligned on purpose with their soul mission than following the status quo.
Well put. Bang right on the money. I think you're 100% right there. It is about purpose. I think one of the big challenges or struggles that men might be facing is not knowing what their purpose is, but also maybe feeling that they should know by the time they're 18. Like, you know, you finish high school at 18, you're like, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to study at university?
I just want to get drunk, bro.
Right.
You know, like,
I want to go party.
Yeah, have you seen all these women?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Fuck.
Women and partying.
Yeah, I get it.
But you're kind of forced into trying to create a purpose. And I think purpose, I agree with you. I think purpose is something that you discover or that emanates from you. It's not something you chase or that you can externalize or get from some external source, or someone can't tell you what your purpose is. And when I'm coaching young men on purpose, I'm like, well, what I've discovered about purpose only through my own path and process is that for me it became about asking myself, what is my gift? And what is it that I do as well as, if not better than most people? And I think we all have a gift in some area.
Completely
I've never met anybody who doesn't have a gift. And so the way I relate to purpose is to discover your gift. And once you've discovered it, and like you say, it lights you up, you're passionate about it. When I'm in my gift, I'm not working. I'm just giving my gift.
In service, man.
And in service, right. And then also I'm giving it with every cell of my body, of my being. And I'm 64, right? And most guys my age are looking to retire. I'm just getting started on my mission because it's taken me this long to find out what my gift is. And that's to be in service and to be in service to other. And particularly, well, women, because I've got a partner and a daughter. So I'm already in service to women. But with my professional life or my career or my energy outside of the home, I just want to give what I have to other men to so that we can all lift each other up.
Always, man. We say brotherhood is the medicine. It's, you know, we come circling back to that, men are struggling. One thing that has shocked me this year, over 4 months, we put 150 men through a process called Sacred Rage. It's an intimate container, and we do really deep work around core wound work and, you know, the original pain. And then we put them through an anger process, and they can release and put down the bags that they're carrying, that they're hiding most of the time. Mate, I was fucking blown away by the amount of deep shit, horrible shit men have been through when they were kids that they have never talked about. They just bottle it up, push it down. The amount of shame, remorse, pain that a lot of men have from their childhood that they just function over the top of blew me away. It rocked me. And so
I just thought that was normal because that was my childhood. I just thought everyone went through that. But you through this sacred rage process, you witnessed 150 men purge, catharsis of all this suppressed anger, rage, shame.
Like, I know shit happens when we're a kid, but bad shit, like the type of trauma that shouldn't happen. That stuff was more common than I thought in the male population.
Okay, yeah.
You know, abuse, violence, that was way more common to young men than I was aware.
Yeah, there's a lot of sexual assault, violence, betrayal.
And the bit that got me was when they come into the space to do their process, that's not what they'd start with. They'd start with something that was more palatable. And as the process would go on, this isn't the thing. And it would take so much support for them to actually voice what happened. And for me, that was really indicative of the depth of burial. We don't talk about this. But that was, you know, the weight that they were carrying. That's what's drowning them.
What they're holding on to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because men are trained, well, I think this is still the case, men are trained to kind of hide or suppress their feelings and just to soldier on and harden up and toughen up and...
we call that stoicism now.
Yeah, well, no, stoicism is something quite different, actually.
I know,
I actually quite fond of stoicism as a philosophy.
It's true form and practice.
Yeah, but in its true form, stoicism is not. You know, I was raised to suppress all my emotions and feelings. Like the things I heard were things like children are there to be seen and not heard. Like that was actually something I heard a lot from my parents and uncles and whatever. So I was there to be seen and not heard. And by the time I was 24, I was numb, like completely numb. You know that Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb? I was numbed out. I was getting drunk Friday, Saturday and Sunday, paralytic drunk, you know, to the point where you're throwing up and almost like alcohol poisoning, just to self-medicate my numbness. And I started therapy when I was 24, and it was very much emotion, feeling-based therapy, so a lot of getting in touch with feelings and emotions and then cathartic processes to release them. I had no idea what a feeling was until I started. And then all of a sudden, there's
a lot of them.
Anger, rage, hurt, frustration, disappointment, shame, guilt.
What's going on?
Fear. And when it starts coming out, like I thought I was going insane. Yeah. Because I'd spent the first 24 years of my life suppressing every emotion. You know, like my parents would belt us and then say things like, when you stop crying, then I'm going to come back and give you more. So we would just lay there pretending to cry. But just like crazy mind stuff. But it was, I think their intentions were, and I've talked with them about them as an adult, that they were just misguided. They thought the way to raise a good, strong, well-behaved child was to beat the devil out of them. You know, beat the bad behaviour out, and then the way to encourage me, my dad thought, was to just give me lots of discouraging comments, and just like belittle me, and that would inspire me to want to big things. For me, it kind of had the opposite effect. All of that it was just trauma.
Yeah, totally. I think for everyone.
Well, I've actually talked to people, and you know, I've worked with a lot of people in the trauma space and coaching space, and I've met some men. It's a small percentage. And usually they're like hyper successful men, like billionaires. I'm talking about people who are billionaires, and they raise their kids like the Spartans. And sure, they might be successful in a few metrics, but are they really, you know? I've had guys tell me that getting belted by their dad was really good.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, okay, it might have worked for you, but it doesn't work for everybody. So there seems to be a small percentage of men who, for some reason, relate to that approach.
Yeah, do they belt their kids?
Yeah, I've had some guys tell me they'll tell me that they smack them. I'm just anti-violence.
Yeah, same man. I would say I don't believe that they're being completely honest.
Right. Yeah.
And I would say that confronting that maybe what they're saying isn't true is more terrifying than accepting that their dad beating them was good for them.
Yeah, there's probably some denial, deep denial in that.
Easier to deny and just look at the function that I've got than
Right. I can look at how this has maybe helped me hit the money metric, but my relationship's not working. I'm not in touch with my feelings, and all the other consequences of suppressing.
There's some really cool. So, I'd love to talk about the emotions piece. So, because there's a couple of funny narratives that the world is trying to feminize men. I think. Do you know about this one?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So, it's really established in the literature that certain traditional masculine norms, like emotional suppression, confused with stoicism, self-reliance, avoidance of help-seeking behaviours, an interest in dominance and power, those four always lead to negative mental health outcomes. They never help a man mentally. They never help him spiritually. They're always correlated strongly with men suffering mentally. Depression, anxiety, the works.
Yeah.
There are two that support a man's mental health. A focus on work, so purpose in work, and risk-taking.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah, good. Yeah. That makes sense when you say it like that. And I can already do the math in my head and say that's true for me.
Same. And so emotional illiteracy is where men don't have the emotional vocabulary to explain what's going on inside of themselves.
Yeah.
And so they combust, or they try and express it by get it out with the grog or whatever it is, or with sport or brawling. Men learning to relate with their emotions is one of the greatest gifts they can give themselves for their mental health, their social health, and their overall well-being. The confusion is they reckon it's feminizing men. Men are becoming too in touch with their emotions. That's bullshit. There is no feminizing. What happened was they looked at the men and they looked at the women were doing better. And they thought, well, what's the difference? Well, women relate better with their emotions. Let's teach the men how to do that. That's not feminizing men. That's empowering men to understand their inner world. Of course, when you take anything too far, you get men who are a bit of a wet towel. That happens. But for me, because we have a platform to share this, it's really important for me to say, no, bros, you learning to relate with your emotions will put you in a really good standing for relationship, business, and self-understanding across the board. And it will not make you feminine. It will make you better at relating with your feminine essence.
Yeah, and we all have, every man's got a feminine side to him and every woman's got a masculine side. They're anima and animus that Jung talked about. And and I think, like anything to the extreme is not healthy. And, you meet these people who have no emotion and that's not healthy. There's people who are drowning in emotion and feelings and they just look like they're batshit crazy because they're just a big ball of feeling.
Yeah, bro.
And they just need a little bit of logic.
Totally. Just do the thing. Just tie your shoes.
Yeah. There's definitely, you look at people like Andrew Tate, who are trying to pushing the hyper-masculine kind of persona, which I don't really relate to. And then you see, the feminizing of men in terms of like the woke ideology where they're pushing the kind of trans agenda, like a man can be a woman and this kind of nonsense. So I think there is some nefarious kind of narratives out there in terms of deliberately attempting to mess with a man's perception of himself. Things like, just the phrase, I'm sure you hate it, toxic masculinity. It's just a terrible phrase. Like behaviour's toxic. And toxicity isn't masculine or feminine.
Yeah.
It's the behaviour that's toxic.
Totally.
And then gender-based violence, like really... the message there is that the domestic violence is all the men, as the perpetrators and the women as the victims, and that's not the case.
Okay, correct me. So from what I understand, though, the stats do show that men tend to be more violent.
No.
No?
No. The highest incidence of domestic violence is in lesbian relationships.
Okay.
Not the highest numbers, of course, but the highest rate or incidence.
Okay, and what about in...
And I've coached many couples and people where it's about a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
If you ask them who hit who first,
it's
usually the woman who hits the man first by about 51 to 49. So it's very close.
Yeah.
But women will hit men. The reason the statistics look the way they do is because men will rarely ever report if they were hit by their women. Very ever. But many women, there's certainly a cohort of women who will fabricate stories that they were hit by their partner.
And what about the biological disparity? A woman can hit a man, but it's very different from a man hitting a woman.
Well, clearly because the man can do way more damage. the other thing about this, which is not readily talked about, I've never heard it spoken about in the mainstream narrative, men will more often turn the violence in on themselves.
Yeah.
2,500 men a year take their own life.
Yeah, it's huge. The male suicide rates, particularly in Australia, are through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's not talked about. And look, some of the reason that's not talked about, there was a study that showed there was possibly a 13% increase in the likelihood of copycat kind of results if they talked too much about suicide in the public space, that they found that the rates go up a little bit.
Yep.
But that was usually associated with if it was repetitive reporting and if it was very sensationalised and they were really focusing on the method and they were showing that over and over again in graphic ways, that some young men who are prone to risk-taking behaviour might go and, you know, get themselves in trouble.
Yeah.
But there was a follow-up study that showed that there's no real increase in suicide rates by talking about suicide in the public space. So I actually think we ought to be having conversations about this.
For me, we need to talk about both. You know, both of them need to be in the space. So violence, intimate partner violence is a thing.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Of course, it goes in all directions and all ways.
Yeah.
And men have a responsibility to not be violent to women.
100%.
If we just talk about heteronormative relationships.
Yeah.
And if we just look at why that is because of our biology, we can do a lot more damage with a lot less effort.
Yeah.
So that needs to be, for me, that's a really important piece. And I think that's why it's front and center.
Yes.
Is because of the advantage we have physically. And I think people misconstrue that saying, no, we're blaming men. It's like, well, actually men need to take a little bit more responsibility here because of the gifts of our body that we have.
Men need to take 100% responsibility for any violence that they perpetrate towards women. Yeah. And the men who do that are guilty of assault. And
I fully agree. And I fully understand that in a relationship, it's majority of the time a two-player dance.
It's what?
A two-player dance. You know, it's both parties are at play.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I don't know enough about the stats on male-female violence. I don't know about the stats of female-female violence. I'm not aware of that.
Well, just the numbers, I think it's somewhere between 60 and 70 women a year in Australia die at the hand of their domestic spouse, which is 60 or 70 too many. Yeah. But what percentage of those 2,500 men suiciding are doing that because of what they've been through with their partner? So as a shadow coach and a trauma therapist, I see quite a few men coming to me after, you know, breakdowns in their relationship, and women, this is pretty well understood, women generally won't hit as their primary source of violence. They'll do reputation destruction. And women, nasty women, know exactly how to hurt a man. And I've had clients where they've made up...
Let's change that to women who are hurting.
Women who are hurting. What did I say?
Nasty women.
Nasty women. Women who are hurting.
Because it's the same for me, because one of these pieces which is in here is that where are the good men? And so when someone says that, I said, no, men are good, full stop. Women are good, full stop. Good women and good men go through hard times and they get hurt, and then they hurt people when they don't have the environment, the support and the tools to transform that hurt into meaning making that makes their life better. And so that for me, like we're talking about this, is like instead of the assumptions about, it's like, okay, what if we started at humans are good.
Yeah.
Men are good, women are good, shit happens, people internalize, people crumple, trauma takes place, and then that plays on.
I used to see things that way, and I think that's a really positive way of seeing things. And for me, it's a little too sanitized, and mainly because I'm being very influenced later in life by doing a lot of shadow work. And so when I said nasty women, there are women that can be nasty, and there are men that can be nasty. I can be nasty.
Do you think someone is nasty at their core?
Is somebody nasty at their... Well, look, have you read The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn?
No, but I want to read it.
You need to read that. He witnessed... Well, he was in the gulags in Russia under Stalin. Somewhere between 30 or 40 million people died in those forced labour camps from 1914 to 1954. And Solzhenitsyn documented the whole thing. And he's got a line in his book, a quote, the line between good and evil runs through the heart of every man and woman. So we all have the capacity for good and evil. to be nice or to be nasty. I can be nasty. Ask my partner. My partner can be nasty.
Yeah.
Ask me.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't. And look, I used to be very positive in my outlook, and
Yeah.
you know, we're all here to just raise our consciousness and be good people, and that no one's really bad at their core. I think that's a little naive.
Really?
And there are people who are bad at their core. About 5% of the population. When I say bad, malevolent, nasty. You know, there are sociopaths, there are psychopaths.
I would call that a structural issue.
Which?
A structural. I wouldn't be surprised if there's brain methylation issues going on there. If there's some wiring that's a little askew.
Oh yeah, there'll be reasons for it. But your question was, do you think there are people who are nasty at their core? And I would say, yeah, I would. I've worked in maximum security prisons for 10 years. I've met psychopaths. They are nasty to their core. I mean, they're only like a few percent of the population, but they are real. But then even just regular people, like I can be nasty. I can be a bully. I've been a bully. I've been an addict. I've been a jerk. I've been like all those things. So,
this is a fun.
But the thing is that I take your point, because the point is that who I am, or is that all come from hurt? I would say both. I would say we all have the capacity for good and evil, and I'd say the more hurt we are, the more likely we are for that shadow to come out. Particularly if the shadow's not integrated, then hurt people, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
it's interesting because for me, there's no positivity in that. It's a realism. It's that hurt people, and there's a small population who potentially are wired a little different, and they look at things in a what we might call evil or sinister way, and they pursue that. But I would be very surprised if they haven't been significantly hurt.
Oh yeah, they yeah.
And to contrast it, because I've never been able to explore this with someone else, when you're on 5-MeO DMT, in that space, does that space feel like the truest experience of life you've ever had?
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah. So what I experienced, so I think I know where you might be going with this. So in the world of duality, which is the world.
Oh man, this is great. I've never got to hash this out with someone on a podcast.
Let's go here.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not fully versed in the non-dual conversation on the non-dual movement, but I've had the experience of unity consciousness, and I understand duality. When the drop of consciousness is instilled into us at birth, and we take on this human form. I mean, I'm a spirit in a body. People can dispute that, but that's my experience. And so there's an animating spirit in this meat skeleton.
Is everyone a spirit in a body in your worldview?
You are, in my world they are, but I can't tell you what you are.
Okay, I know. I just want to know your worldview.
Yes. Okay.
You know where I'm going.
No,
okay.
I don't.
So, is it possible for spirit to be evil in your worldview?
So I've got two schools of thought, and I haven't come to any conclusion. For some people, like really nasty people, like psychopaths, I'm not even sure they have a spirit in them. I think they got an animating human. No, they got a human body, but the soul did. So either the soul didn't come through, or the soul that came through is evil. I don't know. Who can answer that? But I think both are possible.
Yeah,
and I have thought that.
I don't think both are possible, because then we wouldn't be in unity consciousness, we'd be in a duality consciousness. So if you're not evil at your spirit and soul, and there's only one spirit and soul, because it has to be in a unity consciousness, well then everyone has to be.
So are you saying that it's not that they're born without a soul? They're born with... I don't even bring soul into it. I think we're animated by spirit. And so what's spirit? Is spirit and soul the same thing?
I call it life. I call it nature.
Nature.
Yeah. And your blueprint of spirit, we could call soul in my worldview.
Okay. I'll give you my worldview, and then we'll see if you can see where it overlaps with your worldview. So when I had my full dose of toad medicine, my ego died, so self was no longer there. But there was a conscious experience. So from a yogic perspective, the way I describe that is that the drop of consciousness that is distilled in me at birth, that comes from the ocean of consciousness, which I call spirit or God or whatever. So you smoke the toad medicine, it activates the default mode network, full ego death. Some would say the crown chakra opens, Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus, and that drop of consciousness goes out through the top of your head and goes into the ocean of consciousness. You're now not you, but there's no duality now. There's only unity consciousness because the drop has returned to the ocean. When that experience of oceanic consciousness was taking place, visually for me it looked like the cosmos. Like there was black space and there was like distant galaxies and things. There was nobody there, including me. There was nothing there, but nothing was missing. The download was everything is here. God and the devil, good and evil, right and wrong, war and peace, up and down. But it's in a cosmic dance, the harmony of which makes everything bliss. So even death, war, destruction, disease, evil, all this stuff, when it's in a dance of unity consciousness, it's bliss. So in Sanskrit, they have the word Satchitananda. Sat, the absolute truth, Chit, pure consciousness, Ananda, bliss. So the experience of 5 for me was Satchitananda. So this is the absolute truth I'm experiencing, which is pure consciousness, which is bliss. And it contained everything, good and evil.
Yeah.
And so...
Did it contained and animated everything?
My experience of what I was as consciousness was that I was everything in all direction for all time. So I became, not I, because there's no I there, but there was unity consciousness.
Totally. Hence there's only one moment.
Only one
moment.
One moment.
Yeah, that's for me what you just talked about is presence. If there's only one moment and I drop totally into this moment, then I'm everywhere all at once in every dimension.
Now we're getting deep.
Yeah.
This is what the Indigenous talk about, Aboriginal Australians talk about, that all of the past and all of the future is contained in the present moment. So that's deep.
Yeah, I've had one fleeting experience of that in meditation. And just being like, and just saw it and saw the box of identity and then saw the ocean of eternity. And I'm like, oh. And then I ran into Don to tell him I was at Don's house. I was like, yo, I'm going to ran into, he's like, oh yeah, I've been there.
So the other part of this that I think is significant in this conversation about men and women and humans in general is that in a dual world, in a world of polarity, there's me and other.
Yeah.
There's me and you. And so once you've got me and other, now you've got problems.
There's a beautiful philosopher, a man named Martin Buber, and he's quite pertinent for the times with what's happening in Gaza. So he was there for the re-immigration of the Israelites or Israelis into Palestine. And he was there for the start of the Zionist movement, and he said that true Zionism includes all its neighbour and real Hebrew religion is loving and welcoming all its neighbours. And he was the philosopher in the Zionist movement. And the other famous man, I can't remember his name, basically they ostracized him. And he said, this will never work unless we relate from what he called an I-thou relationship. So his whole work, Martin Buber, his beautiful philosopher, his whole work was I-thou, not I-it. So I-it is when we objectify an other, the person. So when there's the other instead of the other me. And it's a really cool piece of work. When I'm in othering, that's when I can say you're evil, you're this, you're that. I can objectify you.
Yeah.
When I'm in I-thou, I can relate from our humanity. And his whole methodology, which I think you'll like, was meet in I-thou and then talk and then tireless dialogue. You talk until it's resolved. And that was his plan for peace in that region. That's how he wanted to establish peace between the Israelis and the Arabs.
So when you say the philosophy of I, thou, are you alluding to that? Another way of saying this for me is that there is no me and you. There's me and then there's me over there as you.
There's consciousness having a conversation between two instruments. And
between two
instruments.
Right.
And that one instrument is called Pete and this instrument's called Ryan.
Yeah.
And from that place, we don't get so caught up in the pain, the personality, the identity. We can listen properly. I can hear what you're saying without needing to know what I want to respond. So it's coming out of the mental construct of da 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 and coming into the, whoa, man, hey, fuck, here we are having this experience. What a trip.
So many places we go with this conversation. You know, there's this conversation about, are we living in a simulation? And I heard it put this way, and it kind of made the most sense to me of anything I've heard in a long time, is that the whole experience, the whole conscious experience that you and I are having at the moment is really just like a fantasy in the mind of God. Yeah, you know, whatever God is, nature, God, it doesn't really matter. But like that, this is all just an imagination inside the mind of God. The whole universe, the whole of all creation is created through a consciousness. So it's consciousness is all encompassing thing that creates everything, and it's all happening like it's a fantasy in the mind of God. And like for me, I'm like, yeah, I can actually relate to that more than pretty much anything else.
Same, bro.
Yeah. And it, as a human being who is in service to other human beings, I am aware when I'm with my clients or patients when I was a nurse, I was aware that really that's just me over there in another body bag, and I always related to them that way. So I just put myself in their shoes, so to speak, and that's, I suppose you call that empathy, and I think I've been told I'm strong in empathy, and I'm not always good at this. My partner's the person I'm least good at it with, because I get triggered the most by my partner.
How funny is that?
What's that?
How funny is that? It's like universal.
Is it right?
Yeah, from my experience, they're the perfect person to show me all the places I'm not free.
Yes.
I found that one,
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I'm aware of that. And then when I had my daughter, I'm aware that she's there to show me the bits where I could still learn that even I haven't learned from my partner.
When we, to circle this all the way around to the start of this conversation, we're talking about initiation.
Yeah.
For me, one of the greatest and ongoing initiations is intimate relationship.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like that is making a man of me.
And then becoming a dad.
Oh, I can't
which you're
wait.
not quite there yet.
Yeah, man.
But until you become a dad, your relationship is where you'll find where the most work is to be done. And for this reason, who was it? I think Joe Dispenza. I think I saw something about him. He put a video on YouTube or something. It was about an hour. And to me, it was a bit crazy because he was saying that people should be single. And that relationships are old school and we shouldn't be doing relationships anymore because there's too much strain on our mental health, and that to optimise your mental health, it's better to be single because of the stress of a relationship is too much. And I'm like, is this a piss take or is he being real about this?
Yeah,
I'm like what a cop out. Like,
yeah, I agree.
I agree with you. Like, I think relationships are a rite of passage, because you're going to trigger each other. And like you said, where am I still not free? Where am I still being triggered? Why am I like a dog on a bone on this issue? Why can't I just drop it and let it go?
Don used to say all issues in relationships is one party saying it matters and the other party saying it doesn't.
Oh, I love that.
And you're trying to convince the other one to come to your camp.
I love that. He's a wise guy.
Yeah.
What was his name? Don Rosenthal.
Don Rosenthal. Amazing book, The Uncharted Journey. What we're talking about, applied spirituality.
The Uncharted
Journey. And his the term, I one day I said, what are we doing here? And he goes, sometimes I call it applied spirituality. It's taking that universal truth that we've both experienced. How does that animate into this relationship, into this moment, into this conversation, into how I show up for the world? And relationship seems to be the most fertile ground for growth across the board for anyone who's willing to really be present with it, who's not. And this is to circle again, this is my quip with the leading and the roles. It's a really easy way to negate presence. It's a really easy way to not be with the emerging truth of what's most true right now and really honor that. And it might be that actually that person's leading right now. Leadership for me is not positional, it's presence based. And so in my relationship, we're listening, we're there together in the experience. And then, there's certain things I tend towards because I enjoy it, and there's certain things that my partner tends towards because she enjoys it. But we don't ever try and own that. the thing we're oriented towards is each other in the moment and what's being asked of us. And for me, that's the essence of leadership.
I told you he was bright. I just like things like fireworks are going off in my mind at the moment.
I'm really enjoying this as well. By the way.
Cool.
This is fucking great.
Thank you. So what I'm seeing that where I'm failing, one of the areas where I'm failing, someone told me the other day that FAIL stands for first attempt in learning.
I love that. Yes.
So where I'm failing at the moment with my partner is that I'm not being present. Because I'm a busy guy. A million things going on in my mind at once. And so sometimes I come out of a trauma therapy session and walk into my partner and my child and she's just like at me, it's got all these like things. I haven't even decompressed or unwound or whatever. So I'm not present and something will matter to her. Doesn't matter to me. I've just come out of a trauma therapy session. And you know, this is on me because I need to clear myself before I go and be with my family. And then she'll be telling me something matters and I'll be like, compared to what I just heard, that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And that's the source of the conflict is that she's wanting it to matter and she's wanting it to matter now.
Yeah.
And I'm not present because I'm still preoccupied.
Yeah.
And when I'm preoccupied and distracted, I can't be present. And so this is helpful because now I know that I need to bring another practice into my life, which is to, in between my work life and when I'm working with clients and being with my family, I need some clearing practice.
Totally.
So that then when I go in there, I can be present. And because this is when she says, I don't listen, this will be what she's referring to, is I'm really preoccupied and distracted with what I've just been through and that I'm not ready to hear and I'm not present.
My partner encourages me to do the same thing.
Right.
He says, hey, I think it'd be really useful if you took 5 minutes after you move from task to integrate. Just take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes to integrate. Yeah, it's taking me months to really let that in.
Yeah.
You know?
You sound like you're a guy who listens to your partner a lot.
Yeah, I listen to the people close to me for sure because they have a very unique position and view on me. They're so close that they can see all the things that I'm blind to.
Exactly what I talk about in shadow work.
So why would I not listen?
Your intimate partner is your highest ally in becoming the best version of yourself, especially if they love you, because they want you to be the best version, and they can see your blind spots, and because we can't see our own blind spots by definition, and so she'll point yours out as my partner does to me. Do you get defensive sometimes? You get defensive and dismissive?
Yeah, man, I'm so stubborn, so defensive, so stubborn. I'm such an asshole sometimes. I do the functional freeze. I do the like, my body's here, but I have this smug look on my face and energetically I'm in like the other side of the world like, fuck you. I can't feel you. That's your problem. Like, I can be an absolute asshole.
Yeah.
You know, but it's learning. I'm really learning to allow love in. I'm learning to allow like, oh, this person wants the best for me. Fuck.
Yeah.
That's confronting sometimes.
There's an interesting thing that's happening in my relationship, and is that in the early stages, so the first 5 years, it's only changed recently, conflicts were a big deal. We stewed over them.
Yeah, same.
We'd go quiet for a couple of days. We would disconnect for a while, and you know, all sorts of stuff would go on, and we'd have to sit down and have big, long, you know, deep and meaningfuls about it to try and resolve it. And sometimes we'll take a little bit of MDMA together and, you know, like get you really sort it out. And now what's happening is that we must have reached the threshold. Now we can be really pissed off with each other and like really like have a quick conflict, and then it's gone. It's done and dusted. It wasn't a big thing. It was a little thing. Maybe I was a bit hungry or maybe she was a bit tired or both. But it seemed like a big deal at the time, and we don't have to go and fix it. We don't have to do anything with it. It's just like two electric charges like misfiring, and then it just dissolves, and then we're like sweet and connected again. And what I used to do, Ryan, which I'm not doing now, is I used to store all those little micro attacks up and build a case against my partners.
We should have been lawyers, all right? We just should have been lawyers. I can relate, and I'm learning to not do that.
Right.
Yeah, I can really relate with what you're saying, and I have similar patterns and tendencies. And my partner is a Brazilian woman, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish where our cultures clash, where I really see how conservative and quiet I am as this colonial white man, I really feel that, like, and then I see Maria's joy and effervescence and brah, like in the how she can just let it out. And I'm like, be kind. You know, she's like, oh, like, dude, just, let's move on. Let's go for a swim. And it's such a lesson for me of, it doesn't matter. And then sometimes it matters how we deliver the message. And that comes back to that deep listening. Like, is it important right now for me to deliver it sweetly, or can I just say, hey, grow up? It's such a beautiful, I love relationship. There's no format. You can't fit it into a spreadsheet. You know, that's Jacob, my business partner. He loves saying that. He's like, you can't put soul in a spreadsheet.
I before I met my partner, I was already coaching couples in relationships and relational conflict in particular, and I'm quite skilled at it.
Yeah.
But that means nothing in my relationship. For a couple of reasons. One is we made an agreement when we met that I don't get to coach her, and that's very wise, and I haven't coached her, and I will honour that agreement. So I can't bring my coaching skills in, because then I'd probably use that to dominate her. If left, unattended, I'd probably trial that. And what I've discovered is that I've learnt more about relating through listening to my partner than I could learn through any study or observation or course or whatever.
Yeah.
And that just makes sense. No two individuals are the same, and no two relationships are the same. So why should I think I could take some template and apply it to this person, like you say, like a spreadsheet, and get a good result?
It's crazy, man. And just the amount of, the more I've opened to mistakes. So a big piece Don helped me with was mistakes are how we learn. And the more I've opened to my own mistakes, the more I open to my partner's mistakes, the more I realize I'm changing and meeting myself every moment. And then it's a joy to meet her every moment. I don't need her to be a certain way and to fit a certain model and to be this thing. It's like, oh, you get to be you. Fuck, that is intoxicating. That is so enlivening. And that's something I'm really learning to enjoy. And then that allows my essence through. It's like, wow, this is a space of freedom, to loop all the way back. But together, like, it's such a beautiful dance of fully free and fully committed.
Wow, that's never heard it put like that before, because you think those two things are the opposite, freedom and commitment. But there is a freedom in that. Yeah, so I think freedom and discipline are the same. Like when I was undisciplined, I had no freedom, really. I thought I had freedom. But now that I'm disciplined, I think I have more freedom.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. So, then those things aren't opposed. I want to pivot back to your comment about conflict. I work a lot in relational conflict, so anything I learn around that's useful. So most conflicts, according to Mr. Rosenthal, are one party thinks it matters and the other party doesn't. So I just see that maybe when I'm present in a conflict with my partner, I can just do a quick math and go, does this really matter or not?
Oh, man, that's been massive for me.
Has it? Right.
Yeah, it's been massive to go, hang on, what are we fighting over here? And then leaning into that he was big on validation, and not validation that I agree with you, but how can I see it the way you're seeing it?
Yeah.
How can I understand this to be real for you? Why does this matter for you? And if I validate really well, that's when I come into the I-thou relationship of, oh, I get it. I get why this is important for you. I don't know, it's not my reality, but your reality is equally as true as mine.
Yes.
And that's where the relating happens.
I really like where we're going with this, because we're distilling it down to how to manage relational conflict.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what's behind the domestic violence. That's what's behind the men suiciding when their marriages break down. When things break down, it breaks down into a shit fight, and it can get pretty nasty and pretty devastating.
And for me, relationship is the thread that weaves the whole fabric of life. What am I not in relationship with? Yogis say anything you can be aware of is not truly you, but I'm in relationship with everything that I'm aware of and everything that I'm not. And so for me, relationship is where it's at. That's the secret sauce, what we're talking about. For the men killing themselves, they have a poor relationship to self, poor relationship to other, and a poor relationship to the world. The domestic violence, there's a fracture in the relationship, probably in all three aspects again. So that relationship with self, other, and the world, or whatever, spirit or higher self, those for me are the fundamentals for a life well lived.
long pause. To
Cue
reflect.
music.
So relational conflict. Extra long pause. You know when that.
I'm really good at the conflict bit.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm getting better at the relational bit.
Conflict's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's generally not enjoyed by most people, and I work with so many people who avoid conflict and confrontation, and I think we do that to our detriment. You don't get better at anything by avoiding it.
Yeah.
So I think we need tools. I think you and I may have something to offer people in the ways of philosophies or approaches or tools to relational conflict that could be useful. And I want to just go back to the thing you said around one of the things that I witness in the clients I work with when I'm working with couples is kind of fights or arguments or disagreements. And generally what it comes down to, I think all arguments are about the same thing. That's being right.
Yes.
So everything argument's about being right.
Yeah, totally. I love being right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so if you want to, you can actually disappear not relationships, you can disappear arguments. All you have to do is give up the need to be right.
Yeah, well said.
And I've done that before because I used to get in a lot of arguments because I was so attached to being right about everything and I wouldn't budge. But if you're right, the other person gets to be wrong and they don't like that, so they'll stay in the fight. And I did this and it works. You know, if you're having frequent arguments with somebody and you're willing to give up the need to be right at any time, it doesn't mean you're not right, but just give up the need to be right and even concede to them. And you're not even saying they're right. So you know what? I'm happy to go with your point on this. I'm happy to go with your position on this. I'm not saying you're right, but I'm just no longer attached to being right. And this goes a bit further back to what you were saying is that no one's right and no one's wrong. That's the wrong. That's not a helpful context in how to look at somebody's position. Their position is just their point of view. It's neither right nor wrong. And your position is your point of view. It's neither right nor wrong. And so all we can ever really do is share our points of view. You might not agree with my point of view. It doesn't make me right or wrong. And the same with you. Like you've shared some of your points of view with me and some of them have enlightened me in new ways that if I was stuck with being right, I wouldn't have any fluidity or flexibility to be able to pick up a new way of seeing things. So through the way to relate is not to be concerned about who's right and who's wrong, but how did you come to your point of view if it's different than mine? And then I can share with you how I came to my point of view if it's different to yours. And then I think we're probably both better off instead of worse off.
Totally. There's potentially more information to understand the emerging truth. Don actually had an amazing baby step for this. He'd say, so we talked about this a lot. He said he used to love being right as well. We laughed like we did. And he said one of his things was when he could see that he was in the fight, his baby step to exit was he said, oh, you know what? You might be right. So I'm not fully, it's just that was his, because that was all I could give, but it was enough to get me out of the fight. Just, you might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not, okay.
It's a concession.
Yeah.
You're not waving the white flag or giving up or submitting. It's just a concession that you might be right. And that's actually correct because they are right from where they're looking.
Totally.
From where they're looking, it makes sense at the way they're describing it because that's their point of view. I'm looking at it this way and they may be right and you may be right. They may both be right and you may both be wrong. Yeah. But when you're attached to being right, that's when the problems start to creep in. Because if you're right and you're in conflict with another, the other has to be wrong.
Exactly. We go into the othering. We go into the you and me. This is a big one that I've learned and my partner's really been instrumental in this is, hey, how can we be on the same team right now? Like, I don't like you right now, but can we be on the same team about this?
Your partner will say that to you. I don't like you right now.
Oh, yeah. I really don't like you right now, but how do we get on the same team? And I'm like, I don't like you.
I like her. That's great. I don't know if I have the courage to say that to my partner. I don't like you right now.
One of the most courageous humans
I feel that on the inside.
Exactly, but to be that candid.
Yeah. That's the Brazilian, the Latins, they just say what is, man.
Yeah.
And you know, while she's saying that, she's still connected to her heart, isn't she?
Yeah. It's just it's like I love you, but now.
I'm not liking how you're
and how
showing
do
up.
we? And she's been so great. It's like, how do we get on the same team about this?
Mm.
And it's such a beautiful thing.
Wow.
I grew up in such a triangulation, teams and opposition, and constantly being triangle between parents and siblings and played off and whatnot. So for me to understand that relationship is about being on the same team, and particularly when I'm in opposition to someone, how do I be on their team and still have the rivalry? So from opposition to rivalry, but we're on the same team. It's been instrumental in my men's work as well, bro. Jacob O'Neill, the guy, the other lead facilitator, he is phenomenal at being on someone's team. Even if he holds a different vision, he's so great at the relationship. And that was a big one for me coming into the men's work is, okay, we can have missions in parallel and we can be on the same team. Our missions can even collide and we can still be on the same team. It's such a cool, for me, a really cool switch to challenge my upbringing.
So when your partner comes to you and asks you, Ryan, I don't like you right now, how can we be on the same team about this? Where does it go from there? What is the step or the process to get to where you can see how you can be on the right team? Can you think of an example?
Yeah, totally, man. Honestly, it can start with literally holding hands.
Yeah.
So just sitting next to each other and holding hands. We might go and share a tobacco together and just share a tobacco.
So you
hold
ritualize
hands.
it. It's almost like a short, quick ritual.
Because what I want is I want to push her until she reacts, so I can say, "See, you're fucked too."
You're fucked too.
So I want to create.
Now we're both fucked.
Yeah, exactly. But I got you. See,
right?
Yeah. You're not so good, are you? So that's the game I see often happens is when the ego's activated. I want to activate yours because I feel shame about mine being activated, and the vulnerability of facing that shame.
Wow, that's instantaneous noticing. You can notice that you feel shame when your ego's activated. I know when my ego is activated, but I'm not aware that I'm feeling shame at that moment.
I know that I want to get her so that I don't feel bad about mine being activated.
Wow.
And so then the game is, can we both hold the frame for the other until we can just meet in the middle, just a touch. And then, it's just sometimes the contact or sometimes just a hug. Okay, let's just hug. And it's like wooden dolls trying to hug each other to begin with. And then
porcupines trying to hug.
And just that gentle, and sometimes it's, I'm actually done. Can we do this in the morning? Yes.
Yeah. There's a time and a place too, isn't there?
Yeah, there's no right or wrong, but the hope or holding. They talked about it. Don and Martha. So Don worked with Martha. They were his wife, together for 57 years, relationship therapists and whatnot, and they would talk about the little will. One of their teachers taught them the little will. So what am I willing to do right now? I'm willing to hold hands. I'm not willing to do that. Can I be willing to entertain the idea that at some point I'll be willing to hold hands? So how far back do you have to go to get on the team?
Yeah. I noticed recently, and I'm glad I've noticed it because it's been helpful that when I'm in a dispute or argument with
What do you guys do?
partner. What's that?
Well, yeah, what do you guys do?
Well, I noticed that one of the things that I'll do is I'll disconnect from my heart. Though I don't do that anymore because I noticed it. I caught it. I'm like, I'm feeling myself pull away. I'm not feeling loving feelings anymore. I'm actually feeling other things.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not useful.
Yeah.
Because I'm committed to this person. We have a child together. I'm committed to my relationship for the first time. And so when I noticed that I was disconnecting from my heart, I'm like, that's not good. No good can come from that. Only bad can come from disconnecting from my heart. So in our recent conflicts, I noticed my desire to pull away, and I just caught myself, no, I'm going to just stay connected to my heart. And when I did that, all the other stuff that usually comes after that didn't come, like raising my voice, trying to force my opinion, needing to be heard. All that stuff just went out the window because I was still connected to my heart, and I was more willing and open to hear her position on everything. There was more space for her to talk because I wasn't filling the space up with me being disconnected and wronged or whatever. And so I was more patient. I didn't concede things that were important for me to hold my position on because to not do that would be to be inauthentic.
Totally.
So I wasn't willing to risk being inauthentic just to get a result. I had to stay authentic and stay connected to my heart. And it went a lot better just through that one practice of not allowing myself to disconnect.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Totally. That was Don and Martha's whole thing, like an exploration of where I justify closing my heart. That's what life is. And Don would say, I've never found a true justification that closing the heart leads to any good.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and the people, you know, who have a closed heart, closing the heart again doesn't do any good. Like a negative outcome a negative input can't create a positive outcome. So we have to have a positive to positive if that's the goal.
I want to share a story. Can I share a story?
Bring it, bro.
This is from my nursing. I did 35 years as a nurse.
Yeah, wow.
10 of that was in emergency, 10 of that was in prisons. I learned a lot about human behaviour.
I bet.
And I'm a kind of student of human behaviour, if I'm anything.
Yeah.
And there was this one night shift, there was this Eastern European woman, probably in her late 50s, sitting in the emergency department, and I'd just come on the shift, so I just got the handover, and I went over to introduce myself. And I'm like, oh, what are you in with? She goes, oh, there's a problem with my heart. And I'm like, oh, what sort of a problem? She goes, oh, I don't know. It's like my 13th presentation to the emergency department in 2 years. They've done everything, every scan you can think of, everything. They can't seem to find the problem with my heart. And it's here again, the problem's here again. And I was just thinking to myself, I don't think they're going to find a problem with her anatomical, physical heart. I don't think that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
And you know, it wasn't particularly busy, so I had time to just check in with her a little bit. I'm like, I'm wondering if there could be maybe an emotional or psychological component to this. Maybe it's not all physical. And she goes, what do you mean? I'm like, well, do you mind if I just inquire and ask you a few questions? She goes, no, you go ahead. I'm like, are you married? Are you in a relationship? She goes, no, I've been divorced for 10 years. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is that possibly a source of stress on your heart? She goes, no, I'm totally over and I'm fine with that. And I'm like, well, okay, so it's not relational, at least with an intimate partner. I said, do you have any children? She goes, yes, I've got 3 daughters and I'm not talking to any of them right now. Oh. I'm like, you're not talking to any of your daughters and you have 3 of them. She goes, that's right. I'm like, is that a source of stress or upset for you? She goes, well, no, they're the ones who should be stressed, you know. Well, tell me more. And she goes, well, I don't like, one of my daughters is getting married and I don't like the guy. And apparently the daughter's already got a child to this guy and they're getting married after they had the kid. I don't like him at all, shouldn't be marrying him. He's just an evil fellow, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I think I might know what's going on with your heart. As she's like, how do you mean? I'm like, well, you're hating on your grandchild's father. And she'd also said that because she was in a dispute with that daughter, the other daughters weren't talking to her. And I said, so none of your daughters are talking to you. It's not that you're not talking to them, they're not talking to you. He goes, that's right. I'm like, well, you're the common denominator here. Oh. I was just being straight up with her. Yeah. I can be like this sometimes. I said, I think I know what's going on with your heart. I said, there seems to be a lot of like anger and resentment and hurt and all that there, and you're hating on your grandchild's dad. I can't see any good coming from that. I said, I think this is, I said, you know, you're the matriarch of this family and you're not showing up as that, not in the nurturing, loving sense. And I think maybe your heart's a bit closed off or something like that, you know. And then I got called over to some other emerging that was going on. I said, excuse me, I have to go. So I went over and attended to whatever I did. Anyway, I was coming back and the orderly had come in and was taking her in the trolley and wheeling her up to her ward where she was being admitted. And she saw me and she waved and goes, oh, hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You were so helpful. My heart's feeling a lot better.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, and meanwhile the cardiologist had done like the 13th angiogram, the 10th electrocardiogram, the 27th blood test for troponins, and nobody had thought to inquire what was going on with her heart.
Wow.
So I just thought I'd share that because we were talking about closed-heartedness. So I think Don Rosenthal around there's no good reason to close your heart. I'd agree with that, although I still feel the temptation to do it sometimes. Yeah. And usually when I'm doing that, it's because I'm feeling threatened and I feel like I need to protect it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that circles us all the way back to is life safe?
Say again?
And that circles us all the way back to is life safe?
Is life safe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety first.
The essential spiritual question, if it's all one and it's all the one thing, then it's utterly safe, and safety's never been in question. And that only, I just want to preface can be seen as a very spiritually privileged stance to take, because I understand that for certain people they're in circumstance where their physical safety is at risk. But on the deepest spiritual sense, I think the real question is, am I safe? And if I really know life and I relate with spirit and I'm connected to truth, the answer is yes. And then I go about life and I look at all the places where I pretend that's not true. And relationship is one where I am enticed often to pretend it's not true.
What I heard then is that a good practice. I'm thinking about going back to my careers. I haven't done them for years.
I was thinking this the other day.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, classic.
And if I was going to be doing my careers, I think I would have a new goal, and that would be to cultivate safety, spiritual safety first. Because if you have that, if your spirit feels safe, if your soul feels safe, then physical safety's going to come on board anyway and is less relevant. But physical safety, if you're not thinking about spiritual safety, then it's all about physical safety. I feel threatened in this moment. This organism, this body's feeling threatened. It feels like it's under attack. I need to fight or flee or freeze or fawn.
Totally.
Of which I've done all of those.
Well versed.
What's that?
Well versed.
Yeah.
Good student.
Yeah.
A grade over here.
It's funny how that's the main thing is we feel threatened, we feel unsafe, and we go into those 4 or 5 different response mechanisms to it. But if you're spiritually safe, and if there is a spirit and a soul, and I believe there is, then it's always safe, because that's the only thing that's permanent. The body's impermanent.
Amen.
So if I can get back to my spiritual practice and feel safe in my spirit, then the rest is easy. The rest is gravy.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's the first principle, the highest order of relationship that has the greatest effect on all other downstream experiences. Is if I really know who I am and I'm relating with life, and I'm resting into that, capital S safety, there's no opposition to it, then life's good. And we're very lucky with where we live and the resources we have, that we have the opportunity to do that, to rest into that in as much as we want without our physical body being at risk of a bomb or starving.
Right.
Or, we have that privilege.
That's a good point, yeah, because if you're in Gaza or Israel or those parts of the world, or Ukraine or Russia, they've got to worry about the actual physical safety.
Totally.
Yeah.
And ironically, in those places, often people really turn to spirit because
that's
all they've got.
Yeah.
Which is so classic. And then we get in the middle bandwidth where everyone's just living with all the material hedonistics and they forget about spirit. And then you get bored of that. You go to the end, you start returning to spirit. But at the baseline where the human safety is so compromised, all that's left is what's always there, which is what we're talking about, the eternal, ever-present truth of life. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
I think you've stretched my brain beyond its normal limit. I'm actually feeling not fatigued, but like spent.
Yeah, okay.
And normally my episodes go for like 2.5 hours.
Wow, we're only at 1:30.
Yeah, hour
I
40.
I feel super high.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm so high right now.
Keep going, bro. No, look, take it anywhere you want.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing that my capacity to
we're stretching the brain,
contribute is well. Let's keep going, because who knows where it goes when we stretch the limits of our
what
brain.
happens if we just melt?
It's an absolute joy. How old are you? Not that it's relevant.
35.
Yeah, 35. Yeah.
I have a question for you, a really tangible one.
Sure.
What was your experience like at the Gathering of Men?
Oh, thank you. That's a great question. The Gathering of Men. Guys, if you're looking for a place to go and experience brotherhood and in nature, where you'll be comfortable enough in that you'll have a tent to sleep in, you'll have food provided for you.
Amazing food.
Japanese chef. Amazing food in a wonderful place by a creek in nature in the hinterland of the Gold Coast or Byron area. Great location.
Yeah.
and with 150 or more men, and then probably another 100 or so people supporting you, that's about the comfort. So the rest is uncomfortable, and you want the minimum amount of comfort to make people show up.
Yeah.
But after that, it's got to be all pushing you into your discomfort. And I was there as a guest, or what I think you called a wandering elder, which was a title I was happy to take on for the day. And I wish I'd been able to go through for the whole 3 or 4 day process. And I was very aware I was stepping into the middle of the process, and that any feedback I was going to give, like, it's hard to give any feedback because I didn't see it from the beginning through to the end. But what I witnessed was, just the military style morning warm up, like drill sergeant stuff. Loved it, because you don't get to be a bitch, right? Because you're really going to stand out like dog's balls if you're the one bitch complaining. I didn't see one guy complaining about having to do another 20 push-ups because he didn't go down far enough or whatever it was.
Yeah, Keegan's a master at messing with people's minds.
Yeah.
In that space, he just ruins you. It's amazing, and the beauty of it, the bros are so dropped in that they're just on board with each other. Like, let's get it done.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful.
yeah, and there's something that, and I miss this in my life. That's one of the things I really enjoyed about it. First, also, I live with my partner and my daughter, so I'm mostly around feminine energy. I would say probably 50% of my clients are women, but I'm around more feminine energy than I am masculine energy, and that's what I kind of was like a breath of fresh air when I got there. I'm like, that's why I wanted to stay the whole 3 days. I'm like, nothing but testosterone here.
Oh man, it's
There's
so
no estrogen.
revitalizing, isn't it? Just being with with men, and when the masks all come off, we do a big process the night before that really drops the masks. So you're walking into like, oh, here we are. It's just, and the intelligence of the collective of man that comes online in a space like that is loose.
I won't do the spoiler alert, but I think I know how you got them all on the same page.
Yeah.
Cool. When you're going to retreats and spaces like this, it's a journey.
Yeah.
There's a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
And I walked in kind of in the middle, and then there was, I think it was like what would you call that? Like finding the inner warrior.
Yeah, awaken the warrior.
Awaken the warrior.
Yeah.
So that process was brutal.
It's full on, eh?
It's full on and brutal. I would have tapped out.
That's a young man's game.
I
I feel old for that. At 35, I'm like, I'm not doing that.
There were some guys 50 or so, and they were going for it.
Man.
At 64, I would have tapped out in the first round. I would have, like, you can win. I don't need to push myself through this. But what I saw was it really invigorated something in the men that was primal, biological, probably hormone driven. It had a edge of it where it could almost go crazy.
Yeah.
And you and Jacob were very good at managing that edge.
Did you hear Tyron's speech in that? Tyron, the big fella, kind of Viking haircut, and he just when it started getting edgy, and then I curtailed Jake, and then he just did the most beautiful speech about that. It's like, can you have consciousness with your wild nature?
Yes.
With the killer, can you have the consciousness of control?
Yeah.
So beautiful.
It's like the samurai.
Yeah.
All that potential for mayhem, but the discipline to be conscious enough to control it.
Yeah.
So the warrior, it's like in the shadow, the unintegrated beast or monster is just a tyrant.
Yeah.
And then you need the capacity to be that, but the consciousness to know when that's called for and when it's not.
Yeah.
And what I witnessed, it got a bit edgy there, and the guys got caught up in the primal animalistic monster expression. Yeah. But if you don't have consciousness around that could become pretty chaotic and ugly.
Yeah, I think that's where violence bursts through.
Yes, that's right.
That's where people get hurt. Yeah, Tyrone Mowbray, he's a absolute legend. I love working with that man.
There were guys hurt, but they were just like straining or like it wasn't through.
No, there was an older fella. He was probably 50s. It was one of the most courageous efforts. He made it to the final.
Is that the guy who pulled his bicep off his bone or something? Oh no, I know the mate. I know the guy you mean. Yeah, he looked like average Joe Blow, and he was going up against big gym jocks and pummeling them.
It was amazing. He was just full of like grit. A big part of, for me, men's work. There's a lot of talk about men being stuck in their heads,
Yeah.
And then men go into their hearts, and there's this saying, the longest journey a man will ever take is from his head to his heart.
Yeah.
And we'd say, and the most important is from his heart to his cock and balls.
Right.
So bringing that center back online, bringing the place where we generate life, where we pollinate, and this having all three lined up. And so that primal space, when we do rage work, it's unlocking men down into their raw emotions, in their primality, into like the essence of who they are. And
so their manhood, literally their manhood.
yes,
Because a woman has a
manhood.
head and a woman has a heart.
But their manhood.
Right. So connecting to your manhood.
Yeah, like bringing that back online. It's really shut down in a lot of men.
Right.
Watch men, particularly in our area or like in the Western world, when they dance, there is no hip movement. Watch a South American man dance.
Oh, yeah.
Like, baby.
The samba, the
Yeah,
salsa.
it's like, wow.
Yeah.
But we're so constrained in that
the
space.
hips. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, I have no issue with the head. The intellect is phenomenal when it's in service of the truth in the heart.
Yeah.
And the heart is an amazing capacity, but also like the cock and balls, the manhood, like that's so important for men to bring online, for them to feel fully alive in the world.
So like the balls could represent the lover. The heart could represent maybe the balls is the warrior and the heart's the lover and the mind's the magician.
Yeah.
And then when all those three align, the king emerges.
Epic.
In terms of those archetypes.
I like it.
Yeah. That's something that, without being cocky or pretentious or anything, there's some truth to those archetypes.
Yeah.
In that if you're got an integrated lover, integrated warrior, integrated magician, which I think I have to some level, and I think, I don't know if this is an age thing or not, but around 60 I felt king energy, whatever that means to anybody else, I don't know, but to me it just felt like I've lined all my ducks up in a row. I dealt with all the parts of me that were no longer serving me, my addictions, my dishonesty and all those kind of poor habits and my undisciplined lifestyle and not being committed and not keeping my agreements and all the ways I was showing up as a boy. I just started to manage all those things. And then I had a mature lover and I had not an older girlfriend, a mature lover in me.
Yeah, good
My
job.
lover matured. And then my magician is like where I do my work, and I feel like that's on board. And then my warrior, like I feel protective of my family, so I feel that that's strong. And then I just started having this, it's hard to put words to or describe it. I felt complete and satisfied with the man I'd become.
Wow.
And in that, like a kingly nobility emerges in at least in my space. Not out there saying I'm a king to people. That might be pretentious, but and then even seeing my partner as a queen instead of a princess or whatever,
Yeah.
And so these themes do emerge for me, but then I am kind of interested in archetypes and Jungian symbolism and these kind of things. But I think those archetypes are useful in men's
I
work.
think it goes a long way, man. It's super useful. We use it in educating men. It's an incredible tool for self-reflection. And I think the archetypes also combined with the stages of manhood, so knight, prince, king, elder, like understanding that we're journeying through that within each archetype as well, and it's all fractal by nature, so it's all relating, it's all happening all at once. But the king archetype is an aspect of my psyche and my worldview, and I'm maturing into that. When you said I felt good in I was like, fuck, I can't wait for that. Like, shit, you're like, I'm insatiable, there's,
Right.
And I've become okay with that because I'm 35 and full of testosterone. And
Yeah.
I'm in the prince phase, and I can't be a king without resources, because what am I going to build a kingdom from? So I'm in my resource accumulation phase.
Yes.
So that I can be a king. A king can be benevolent or sovereign because he has resources to give or to say no.
Yeah.
But just not rushing the stages. Yeah, fuck. I'm like, you said that. I'm like, oh, can't. Whenever that is, sounds epic.
What's the most valuable thing you think you'll ever own?
Oh, it's an interesting one. I was going to say children, but you don't own them.
I think it's your reputation.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I think, I thought it'd be a big house or a nice car or, a share portfolio or whatever. But looking back, with the hindsight of being mid-60s now, I can say, well, yeah, I thought wealth was going to be this. But really, I think the thing that supports me and my family is more my reputation. I'm not particularly good at holding on to money.
Okay. Good at spending? No.
Well, I'll take a little segue with this. So I was raised Catholic, and
Yeah.
I remember sitting around the bed and my dad would read things from the Bible to us. And I remember this one phrase: "It's easier for a rich man to pass through the eye of a needle." No, sorry. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. So when I heard that, I just,
Yeah, right.
money's evil.
Yeah.
That's where my mind went.
Yeah.
Money's evil.
Yeah.
And so whenever I make money, I just won't hold on to it
Ah,
because
interesting.
it's evil stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll give it away. I've given away lots of money.
Yeah.
I've literally just blown it, spent it, whatever, actually, and physically given it away. So I won't hang on to it. And what gets me by in life, I think, fundamentally, particularly at this age, is my reputation. Because my reputation continues to bring resources in. Whereas if I didn't have a good reputation, that wouldn't be happening. Yeah, so I think that's the most valuable thing I own.
It's good. So you highlighted for me, I saw a little place I feel uncomfortable with the word ownership, owning. I was like, if he'd asked me that, if you'd said have instead of own, it would have, but I felt my whole system be like, oh, ownership. And I'm like, oh, cool, there's a place for me to grow into. Like, it's okay to own things. It's okay to custodian and to have things. Yeah. That's been a big, very renunciate kind of human. So I'm coming into, I have a business and it's okay to be successful in that. And
Yeah, and so when I was doing my shadow work and I uncovered this money shadow around money's evil, that's why I can't hang on to it. I thought that limiting belief's no longer serving me, that money's evil. Who said money's evil? I mean, I don't even know where that verse in the Bible come from or why it's even there. Yeah. And it was me that I interpreted that as money's evil. Maybe that's not what it means. So now I've flipped the script on that belief, and now my belief is that abundance comes from the Creator. If it comes from anywhere, whether that's nature, earth, the universe, God, whatever. So I don't see spirituality and wealth or abundance being, mutually exclusive. I think they can be one and the same thing.
Totally agree. One of our mutual friends who we met through, one piece she said to me that really captivated me. She goes, I want to be as abundant as I can so I can be as generous as I want.
Yeah, nice.
And I was like, whoa, that turned me on. I was into that. The way I work with money is I see it, one of the high principles of masculinity is containment. And containment for me is, can I be with this? Can I hold this? Can I be with the intensity of life? Can I be with what is? And so I see money as a currency. And what I noticed in my journey with money was I would hit a certain amount of money in my bank account and then all 3 cars would break down.
Right.
And I'm like, and then it happened so many times. I'm like, this is a glass ceiling. And so I started working with my energetics of when I get to that place, I felt, oh my God, I'd feel contraction. So it's like opening a hose back up, like, can I unkink the contraction so that the currency, ironically we call money a currency, but the flow can come through in full force. And that's been a really interesting pursuit for me. Is like, can I hold this much charge, this much current, and let it move through? So I work with it in that sense. That's how I work with my money blocks. And then I look at the places where I hit my glass ceiling, and then I go and sit quietly and I work with the discomfort and opening into it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's very much a mindset thing, isn't it? The scarcity or abundance. And
and when I look at how my parents managed money, I totally get why my wires are all crossed. I'm like, okay, so I'm pulling apart the wires. No, this one goes here, there. That makes sense. Yeah.
I think I might wind it up here. There's so many other places we can go, but I mean, if you'd ever be willing to come back on as a guest again, I'd love to have another conversation with you because so many things I'd like to talk to you about and get your opinion on. But for some reason, maybe it's I've moved house for the last week and I'm exhausted.
It's kind of a big deal, big guy.
What's that?
It's kind of a big deal moving house.
It is a big deal.
Yeah, I was really grateful that you said yes to this, so thanks.
I'll invite you over for the housewarming.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's a castle.
Oh, yes.
On a hill.
Amazing, for a king.
It is.
Yeah, fit for a king. Let's do it.
All right, well, great. Thanks for coming on, Ryan.
Man, thank you so much for having me, Pete. I appreciate your work and what you do, bro. Thank you.
I love what you're doing, and I think our relationship's off to a good start.
Yeah, man, thanks.
All right, bro.
Cool.